Top 10 most expensive sports memorabilia in the world. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, we know some of you are big sports fans, so we decided to take a look at some of the costliest private collections and filter out some of the most valuable items in them. There's just something about owning a piece of sports history that is appealing to many private collectors who are willing to pay big bucks for items that are rich in intrinsic value. Let's take a look at what items made the top 10 most expensive sports memorabilia list. Number 10. Babe Ruth 1932 jersey, valued at $1.17 million. It's more commonly known as a cool shot jersey, and the name kinda says it all. One day in 1932, as the Yankees were playing against the Chicago Cubs, Ruth stepped up as a slugger. Before his swing, he pointed to the center field bleachers. He did that twice after the first and second strike. Then he swung his bat and sent the ball over 440 feet, landing next to a flagpole in the section he pointed. He called it. The score was tied 4-4 and everybody cheered for it. That was his 15th home run that season. The jersey he wore that day, making that magical shot, hit the grey flannel auctions back in 2005, and a lucky buyer paid a little under $1 million for it. Today, adjusted for inflation, it's valued at $1.17 million. Number 9. Babe Ruth 1919 contract, valued at $1.24 million. Believe it or not, this piece of contract was sold 10 times the cost of signing Babe Ruth itself. The contract declares Boston Red Sox's deal to sell Ruth to Yankees. This contract did a lot of things to a lot of parties. To Ruth, it meant new club and new start to his amazing career. To the Yankees, it meant $100,000 spent in exchange of one of the world's all-time best. And to Red Sox fans, it was heartbreaking news. But to Peter Segal, it means the world. As the head of collectible items business, he knew what this contract means. So when he heard it would hit the Sotheby's auction house in 2005, he determined to take it home no matter how much it might have cost him. Number 8. Sheffield FC rules, regulations and law books, valued at $1.34 million. Sheffield FC is the oldest club currently competing under Football Association. The club was founded in England nearly 160 years ago. At this point, you should get the idea the older the item, the more valuable and collectible it is. Well, as long as it's in good condition. This rulebook was handwritten at the same year the club was founded. Yep, that is how old it is. But somehow it is still in good condition. Nobody really knows who wrote the first ever instructions and rules to play football, but this is definitely one of the earliest for its sport. It hit the Sotheby's auction house around 6 years ago. It was sold by the club itself. To this day, it remains one of the most expensive European football memorabilia. Number 7. Paul Henderson's 1972 jersey, valued at $1.4 million. He may not be as popular as Babe Ruth, but to Canadians, he is a national hero. He played right wing position for top hockey clubs in Canada and also the national team from 1962 to 1981. In total, he played more than 1,000 games and scored more than 300 goals. In the 1970s, Canada and the Soviet Union were the best two nations in this sport. They were scheduled to face each other on a prestigious match during the 1970 international tournament. However, Canada chose to withdraw due to professional player limitation. But to decide which country is the best, Canada and the Soviet Union arranged a series of 8 games. This was called the Summit Series and it took place in 1972. Canada won the overall head-to-head, and Henderson was the key to some of the nation's victories throughout the entire series. He did all of that in this jersey, which was auctioned at the Classic Auctions around 7 years ago. Number 6. Babe Ruth first Yankee Stadium home run bat, valued at $1.625 million. Here's another Babe Ruth memorabilia, and this one is indeed the one to remember. After signing the 1919 contract to remark his transfer from Red Sox to Yankees, Ruth's legendary baseball journey was about to begin. His first home run took place in 1923, and in that particular year, Yankees won the World Series while Red Sox finished last. In 2004, Sotheby's held a special auction with hundreds of baseball memorabilia lots called The Babe Comes Home, one of which was the bat Ruth used to swing and hit that legendary home run. It was bought by an anonymous buyer from New York. Number 5. Honus Wagner 1909 baseball card, valued at $3.12 million. We all know at least some of you collected and traded baseball cards in your youth. This card is so special that it is dubbed as the Holy Grail of baseball cards. Every time one of these very few copies in existence went to auction, it broke down records. There even was one which sold for $3.3 million, but the sale was reverted after the buyer found it was not in pristine condition. The most expensive one fetched for $3.12 million. Number 4. Mcgwire 70th Home Run Baseball, valued at $4.3 million. Mcgwire is an infamous former MLB player who is now working as a bench coach. Back in the 1980s, his baseball career was shining bright. It turns out it was so bright because he was using incredible amounts of performance-enhancing drugs. Back then, the drugs he took were not prohibited by MLB. Only until 2004, they were classified as anabolic steroids. A few months after he confessed to taking the muscle enhancement product, the ball he hit for his 70th home run was sold at Guernsey's auction house. Including buyer's premium, the ball was sold at a staggering $3 million. That is around $4.3 million today. Number 3. Babe Ruth 1920 jersey, valued at $4.6 million. Worn in 1920, this jersey is the oldest one ever worn by the legend. Even though it looks so simple, this jersey is a piece of American baseball history. This jersey was previously displayed at the Babe Ruth Birthplace Museum in Baltimore for years before the auction. SCP Auctions is responsible for the world record sale as it came out of the glass box. The company that acquired it said they have plans to resell the jersey and already have buyers lined up to pay over $4.5 million for it. Number 2. Rules of Basketball, valued at $4.7 million. A piece of paper can be so valuable when it serves as an important piece of history. That is the case for this Rules of Basketball. As our runner-up for the most expensive memorabilia in sport, it is also the world's 12th most expensive book. Basketball is one of the most popular sports in the world, and we even did a video on the richest basketball players of all time, which you can check out by clicking in the top right corner or look for the link in the description. This sport was invented by James Naismith in 1891. He wrote the rulebook and started the basketball program in the University of Kansas, where he worked as a head coach. That original rulebook, Rules of Basketball, was sold about 6 years ago for $4.3 million. Today, it is valued at around $4.7 million. Most of the rulebook was typed, but there are several of James's handwritten notes here and there on the pages. Number 1. 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO, sold for $38.1 million. It just so happens that the most expensive sports memorabilia is also the most expensive car in the world right now. This car is the holy grail of car collectors, and there's even rumors of a private sale for $54 million for one of these. We've put together a cool infographic that explains what makes this car the most valuable and how rare it is these days. Be sure to check it out in the top right corner. This particular car is not just a classic vintage sports car. This car was driven by some of Ferrari's racing legends, such as Joe Sciascia, Henry Aurelia, Pablo Colombo, Ernesto Preneth, and Fabrizio Vialetti during the GT racing series in the 1960s. Before we end this video, we have to be honest with you. We could have included multiple cars in this list, but chose not to do so and only limit to the most expensive one. We're curious to know, who was your childhood sports hero? You know, the player you grew up looking to? We'll be in the comments joining the conversation. Because you stuck with us up until this point, you get some bonus info. I bet some of you are wondering if there's any Jordan memorabilia worth mentioning. Well, the most expensive piece we know about, valued at $1 million, is the actual hardwood floor upon which MJ won his last championship. The company that built it, kept it, and apparently it is up for auction. We did a video on the richest athletes in the world, and just FYI, Jordan only ranked second. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxa. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos we think you might enjoy, or head over to our website to connect with luxury enthusiasts as yourself. See you inside.